April has come and passed us by, and what an April it's been. I think you guys know why. With the month ending, it's time for some Falcom news. In this video, we'll be talking about a collaboration between Cold Steel 3 and one of the granddaddies of the SRPG genre, some news regarding Cold Steel 4's announcement, more to ponder from Kondo, the impending releases of Zero no Kiseki Kai and Ao no Kiseki Kai, and naturally, we'll end with some discussion regarding Hajimari no Kiseki. Let's roll. Now before we get on to the planned news, I felt it would be pertinent of me to mention something that was announced on the 24th, so literally yesterday. Back in January, we touched on a team of dedicated Falcom fans who came together to work on a fan translation of YS VS Sora no Kiseki Alternative Saga. It turns out that they've now partnered up with the Geofront team who are fresh off completing their Zero no Kiseki patch. The first pass is in progress and looks to be about 40% complete as of the time of recording, and you can be sure that we'll be keeping a close eye on this one as the months progress. Now, last month we were discussing a collaboration between Trails in the Sky's second chapter and Square Enix's mobile title Valkyrie Anatomia: The Origin, a prequel to the Valkyrie profile titles. In that game, the likes of Estelle and Joshua made an appearance to assist the Battle Valkyrie in her quest to put the 9 realms back into balance. Well, recently we got another collaboration, but this time it was between Cold Steel 3 and Langrisser Mobile, developed by Blackjack Studios and published by Zlong Games? Now let's fill in some background detail. Langrisser, for you guys who don't know, is an SRPG series dating back to 1991 and it was developed by Careersoft, formerly known as Team Career, while they were part of Messiah Games. Following on from its predecessor, the Elfleet trilogy, Langrisser was once one of the juggernauts of the genre, but has since faded into relative obscurity, at least compared to the likes of Fire Emblem. However, in 2019, Langrissers 1 and 2 received a remaster thanks to Chara Annie, who have also previously worked with Falcom in regards to merchandising. Published by NISA, the game is now available on the likes of Steam, PlayStation 4 and Switch, and weirdly enough, I am playing these games as we speak. I had no idea about this collab, but when I saw the announcement I thought, that's a coincidence. I will be doing a review on these games as part of a new video series that I've just started, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested. Now as for Langrisser Mobile, it's one of the better mobile games around, at least based on reviews I've seen. You have your main story, but the game also allows you to drop into story events from other Langrisser titles so you can get an idea as to what significance your heroes have had in a previous entry. Naturally, a game like this will have its very own gacha system in order to obtain said heroes, and this is how you get the aforementioned Erebonians. Now, collaboration between Langrisser Mobile and Trails is not a one-time occurrence. Trails in the Sky characters can also be attained in specific time-based events. This treatment was recently translated to the Trails of Cold Steel 3 roster on the 2nd of April. The likes of Reen, Arian Road, and Altina can be summoned through the roulette with a bit of Adios' guidance, and should you get them, they can lend their badass techniques to assist the player on their journey and maybe even claim glorious victory in the arena. As I've said before, mobile titles are not really my thing, but this one looks oddly compelling to me and I might even give this one a go. The game can easily be found on the Play Store and App Store, so if you want to try it out, you should have no trouble. Since we're talking about Cold Steel 3, we might as well touch on its recent release on the PC. The game has been doing outstandingly well, apparently sitting at a 10 out of 10 on the Steam store. Glowing praise for the game is sprinkled all over the page, so I think it's fair to say that the PC port has been a success. All that remains now is the upcoming release on the Switch on June the 30th, and hopefully this will also get just as good a reception. For those Switch users who are pining for Trails, I'm sure you know this, but a free demo is available on the Nintendo eShop. And of course, we cannot talk about Cold Steel 3 without mentioning the recent announcement of Cold Steel 4. I have since calmed down since said announcement. Alright guys, I'm going to say now, there is going to be a high potential for CS4 spoilers in this video, and if you don't want to see them, I would just back out immediately, just get out, okay? Sort of. but I don't think I've been that excited for a game in a long time, especially with how NISA handled it. Personally, I thought it was really well played in how they went about it. It shows that they're willing to have a bit of banter with the fandom, and I personally love that. Heck, if anything, it got people talking about it even more with all the confusion rife in the fandom at the time. Naturally, there have been some interviews with Kondo himself in regards to the upcoming release, of which Game Informer was one of the involved parties. In this interview, Kondo revealed that the game will be bringing back lost arts that were used in Cold Steel 2, adding another layer of strategy to the combat, and that this game has more quests than any previous title. Some even tying up loose ends from some of the other Cold Steel games, so if you're a completionist, you're gonna get a lot of enjoyment out of that. Also of note is that since Cold Steel 4 is the culmination of the previous 8 games into one epic end of saga, so to speak, the title design contains elements of all 3 arcs, with the background of sky and the combination font of both Azure and Cold Steel. It's quite a nice visual of what the game represents in the grand scheme of things. Trails of Cold Steel 4 is now available for PlayStation 4 and Switch pre-order with the Frontline Edition and Limited Editions, and though it cannot be pre-ordered for the PC yet, it does have a Steam page created in preparation. Oh, and for all you shippers out there, a Japanese poll voted Rin and Crow as the best pairing, so, you know, make of that what you will. Now the Kondo corner doesn't end there, as Famitsu recently had an interview with the man himself on April the 8th where he gave a few quotes as food for thought. Most prominently, he mentions that Ys 9 is currently going through the process by which it can come over to the West. He has also made clear that the influence of the West in terms of Falcom's decision making has become more noted. Of course, when we went over Falcom's shareholder meeting back in December, we saw that the combined sales of North America and Europe had grown significantly from the previous year, making it the second largest region in terms of proportional sales. There was also something mentioned that might pique the interest of the Sky Trilogy lovers, so pretty much everyone. When asked about Trails in the Sky and its apparent lack of accessibility on a more modern console, Kondo openly admitted that he would like to remake the games in 3D along with Nayuta no Kiseki. Now though this is nice to hear, my personal opinion on this is that we shouldn't really get our hopes up too much. Even though Kondo has said that he would like to do this, it's likely that no plans have been drafted as of yet, and honestly with the likes of Falcom's 40th anniversary coming up and Ys's 35th anniversary also on the horizon, I can't see there being too much time for a full-on remake of a trilogy of games. Of course, we cannot disregard that part of Falcom's team is already working on the new arc as well, plus Hajimari no Kiseki is in the pipeline. Don't get me wrong, I would be thrilled if this happened, but I really cannot see it happening anytime soon, even if there was a plan in place. But I have definitely been proved wrong before, and in this case I am hoping it happens again. Finally, as we deduced before, Kondo admitted that since Zero and Ao no Kiseki Kai are both now on a modern platform, the foundation is there to potentially bring these to the West as well, something which he has stated before that he wants to do. Of course, Zero no Kiseki Kai has just released in Japan, with Ao no Kiseki Kai due just over a month later, and even though its reception has been somewhat muted in the West compared to other news in the series, we recently were shown some beautiful Memorial Edition cases for both games, sporting art by Katsumi Anami. Now that name may be familiar to some, as this is the same artist behind the excellent Baccano series. Unfortunately though, my knowledge of these pretty much ends there. Whether they're on sale or if they're only available to those who reserve it, I couldn't find much more information on them, but they do look amazing. As for Crossbell in the West, the Geofront translation of Zero no Kiseki has been out for just over a month now, and from what I've seen, many people have been enjoying the experience. If you need an idea as to how hype this mod was, the PC version of Zero no Kiseki was sold out immediately on many different outlets, including Falcom's website. As far as I can tell, it's still sold out in many areas. Now, for anyone who hasn't had a good experience, which I would believe is a minority, there was a patch for the game which improved on some technical aspects and updated some text, which has now hopefully fixed what small issues there were. On top of this, just over 2 weeks ago, a voice fix patch was released on the Falcom subreddit for the Flame translation of Ao no Kiseki. In its previous state, a fair amount of the lines were messed up, so to speak, so this patch will fix that issue with a simple drag and drop. If you're interested in this, a link is in the description, and of course, a big thank you to the team who worked on this. And as is becoming tradition on these news videos lately, our last topic will cover the latest information in regards to Hajimari no Kiseki. Skip forward to this time if you would rather not be spoiled. In the previous video we went over 2 of the routes that were mentioned in the Dengeki magazine, and as we predicted, the final route was soon to follow. This one follows the aforementioned hermit who is known as C. Really? He also has a group of allies including the doll Lapis Rosenberg and the assassin duo Swin Abel and Nadia Rain, who both abandoned the organisation and are now fleeing said pursuers. Now the name Rosenberg may sound familiar to you, and yes, she is indeed a doll, so maybe this will give us a bit more light into the workings of one of the 13 factories, especially one that we have seen in the past. As for our new characters, Swin and Abel, they are indeed the 2 characters at the top of the Dengeki magazine from over half a year ago, so there could be a possibility that these 2 could be our new protagonists for the upcoming arc. But there was more intriguing news to come. In the Gamatsu interview we touched on earlier, Kondo was asked initially about Hajimari no Kiseki. In relation to this, on top of mentioning that the game has around 80% of the text in comparison to Cold Steel 4, he said we should think of the game as a new title with Sky the Third type elements, which I'm guessing hints at a lot of added lore as part of this cross-story scenario. And with that added lore, it's understandable there will be a huge cast in the game, which some of us are already aware of. However, the most interesting thing for me, at least from what Kondo said in this interview, is that we as players are advised to brush up on 2 in-game novels before going into Hajimari. The first of these 2 is the novel within Cold Steel 4, which also recently started releasing in volumes on the Hajimari website. The other book that he told us to look at was Carnelia, which is of course a book that has been around since Trails in the Sky first chapter. For those of us who have read it, we are aware of who Carnelia references, and that could be a hint as to a potential appearance in Hajimari. Interesting stuff indeed. And recently, on the 22nd of April in fact, an official announcement was made in the Famitsu weekly magazine stating that Hajimari no Kiseki is due for release in Japan on the 27th of August, which coincides with the summer release we were initially expecting. This is slightly earlier than Falcom's normal release date for their annual flagship game. For reference, the likes of Cold Steel 4 and Ys 9 released in September of their respective years, and as a result this year there doesn't appear to be a full title, so maybe something else is planned for this period that we are unaware of. In conjunction with this, a new combat mechanic was mentioned called a Valiant Rage, which allows a group of 5 or more in your party to unleash a powerful technique, which can be used to either attack, heal, or cast an art. The degree of power of this ability depends on the amount of party members involved in the technique, up to 10 apparently. Whether that means you can have more than 4 in an active party though remains to be seen. The gauge by which you can use this can be refilled on the overmap by destroying objects and the like, something which has been utilised in Trails titles before. Finally, this latest issue showed us a healthy dose of new screenshots from the upcoming game, including the return of Vita, Novartis, Risha, Zeit, Ilya, and many more. Yeah, they weren't kidding, we've got a massive cast for this game, so you better brush up on your Trails before you play this one. And that is it guys, April has been wrapped up. I hope you got something useful from this latest round of Falcom news. It was indeed an exciting start to the month, and I'm sure we're going to get many more surprises along the way. Stay safe out there Falcom family, and I'll catch you again very soon.